Behind the raw blues and hypnotic rhythms of the Doors' 70s tracks lies something deeper, darker. This video unpacks 5 unsettling truths buried in the lyrics, revealing Jim Morrison's obsession with chaos, decay, identity loss, and the darker side of the American dream. Starting with song number 5, Hyacinth House. This track reveals one of Morrison's most intimate and sobering realizations. Fame, love, and connection can become suffocating traps. In quietly devastating lines, I need a brand new friend who doesn't bother me. I need someone who doesn't need me. Morrison isn't just expressing weariness, he's admitting total emotional depletion. It's a soft-spoken cry, suggesting a desire for connection without the pressures of fame, a desire for solitude, detachment, and freedom from the demands placed on him by the world, his relationships, and his own myth. The song's origin traces back to a dinner party held at guitarist Robbie Krieger's home, where Morrison was inspired by the imagery of hyacinths and a pet bobcat pacing outside, an exotic-looking pet that symbolically mirrored Morrison's own restlessness and alienation. Krieger details this memory in his book Set the Night on Fire, adding rich context to the song's introspective tone. The lion Morrison refers to in the line, "to please the lions," was influenced by the bobcat, isolated and glaring through the glass, which became a quiet metaphor for Morrison himself, on display but kept at a distance. This song also reflects Morrison's growing disillusionment with the band's commercial success and his public persona as the Lizard King. He felt increasingly disconnected from the Doors' mainstream hits and longed to return to the more poetic, private voice within him. Hyacinth House captures that internal fracture, a man seeking peace in a world that won't stop watching. But while Hyacinth House whispers Morrison's desire to retreat from the world, the WASP, Texas Radio, and the Big Beat roars with the voice of a man reflecting on what that world used to be, a surreal broadcast from the edges of culture, mourning the soul of music, rebellion, and identity itself. Song number 4, The WASP, Texas Radio, and the Big Beat. This track is less a traditional song and more a spoken word spell, a dark reflection on how cultural rebellion has been swallowed by commercialism and nostalgia. Morrison recalls a time when music was wild and untamed. The music was new, black-polished chrome, and came over the summer like liquid night. He's mourning a lost era when high-powered radio signals, like those from unregulated Mexican X stations in the 1950s, flooded into Texas, bringing with them dangerous sounds, subversive voices, and countercultural energy. But that fire has dimmed. What was once revolutionary has now been absorbed, polished, and sold back as harmless entertainment. Morrison's cryptic verse, "comes out of the Virginia swamps," may allude to Camp Peary, a CIA facility nicknamed the Body Farm, a place obsessed with control, surveillance, and decay. A fitting metaphor for a culture obsessed with the surface while its soul decomposes. When he declares, "This is the land where the Pharaoh died," he may be invoking both ancient Egyptian mysticism and Christian sacrifice, suggesting the death of something sacred, truth, rebellion, or even art itself. Laced with references to the Freemasons, FBI, and CIA, the track also serves as a veiled critique of institutional power and spiritual collapse. In the end, the WASP is Morrison's poetic obituary, not just for music, but for the movement he helped spark. The revolution wasn't crushed, it was commodified. If the song The Wasp laments the death of cultural rebellion, then the song Been Down So Long brings that loss down to the personal level. A raw, blues-drenched confession of exhaustion, where even survival feels like defeat. Song number 3, Been Down So Long. This track captures a devastating emotional truth that many people silently live with. Prolonged suffering can numb you into accepting despair as normal. Over a gritty blues riff, Morrison sings, "I've been down so goddamn long that it looks like up to me," a line borrowed and reimagined from Richard Farina's 1966 novel Been Down So Long, It Looks Like Up to Me. But Morrison doesn't just quote the phrase, he lives it. The song isn't about fighting through pain, it's about resigning to it. The lyric, "Why don't one of you people come and set me free," feels less like a cry for help and more like a rhetorical sigh, echoing the hopelessness of someone too tired to resist anymore. This is Morrison stripped of all myth and rebellion, just a man burned out by fame, misunderstood by the world, and spiritually cornered. There's a haunting relatability here, that moment when depression becomes familiar, even comforting, because you can't remember what real happiness feels like. It's a numb kind of survival, where darkness feels safer than the unknown light. In this song, there's no mask, no lizard king, just exhaustion and the quiet ache of someone who's been stuck for far too long. While Been Down So Long captures the quiet despair of being stuck, LA Woman takes that despair on the road, racing through a city that mirrors Morrison's inner decay, where the American dream peels away to reveal something far more haunted. Song number 2, LA Woman. This track reveals Jim Morrison's feverish farewell to a city and a dream he no longer believes in. Beneath its gritty groove and driving pace lies a chilling truth. The American dream is rotting from the inside out. Los Angeles, personified as a seductive woman, becomes a metaphor for everything alluring, but ultimately hollow in American culture. Morrison sings, "Are you a lucky little lady in the city of light, or just another lost angel in the city of night?" A line that asks whether anyone really escapes the city's slow spiritual corrosion. He takes us on a psychological drive through your suburbs, into your blues, shifting from artificial calm to simmering discontent. The city's glamour crumbles with the line, "Motel money murder madness. Let's change the mood from glad to sadness." As Morrison tears down the illusion and exposes the raw emptiness underneath. The energy of the song is urgent, frantic, like a car speeding toward nowhere. And in many ways it was. Morrison recorded LA Woman as he prepared to leave Los Angeles for Paris, where he would die just weeks later. The repeated chant, "Mr. Mojo Risin'," is more than just catchy. It's an anagram of Jim Morrison's name, a self-referential resurrection spell shouted into the void. But even that rising mojo feels like it's burning out. This isn't just a song about a city, it's a eulogy for a version of America that Morrison no longer saw as real. If the song LA Woman is the sound of speeding through a city in spiritual freefall, then the song Riders on the Storm is what happens when the road stretches into eternity, a haunting journey through death, isolation, and the storm within the human mind. Song number 1, Riders on the Storm. Our final track closes LA Woman and Morrison's career with a chilling meditation on the human psyche. The mind is a dangerous, unpredictable storm. Of all the tracks on LA Woman, none lingers in the psyche quite like Riders on the Storm, a haunting descent into paranoia, violence, and the fragile boundary between reality and madness. The track floats on a deceptively smooth groove, but beneath its jazz-inflected calm lies real menace. "Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown," Morrison sings, evoking a sense of existential displacement, life as something random, uninvited, and vulnerable. Then comes the killer. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. These lines weren't just poetic. They were inspired by the real-life story of Billy Cook, a 1950s hitchhiking spree killer whose presence haunts every verse. "If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die," is both a literal warning and a metaphor for the hidden violence buried in everyday encounters. The storm in the song is twofold, one brewing outside and one unraveling within. Drummer John Densmore once recalled that someone dismissed the song as cocktail jazz, never realizing the darker underbelly it carried. That undercurrent ties Riders on the Storm back to the end, the Doors' apocalyptic 1967 track. Both songs are ghostly, cinematic, and obsessed with death, detachment, and unraveling identity, echoes of Morrison's ongoing inner descent. They're also thematically connected to Morrison's experimental film HWY, An American Pastoral, in which he plays a hitchhiker on a surreal, possibly murderous journey. More than just a closing track, Riders on the Storm is a psychological road trip through Morrison's final, rain-soaked reflections, a farewell that leaves us not with answers, but with a lingering sense of danger and silence. Across these final tracks, Morrison exposes a crumbling world where rebellion is bought and sold, connection becomes a cage, and the American dream decays behind motel doors and storm clouds. LA Woman isn't just an album. It's a final confession from a man who saw too much, felt too deeply, and left before the storm could take him down. What was your take on some of these songs and lyrics? Let us know in the comments.